This is a Jacobson golf cart, which is actually a easy-go golf cart. I think it's the Marathon series they call it, so it's from the 80s. I've got a bad throttle cable that I'm going to replace, and we're going to walk through that in this video. Here's the throttle cable right here, and you can see that it started to fray and come apart and actually broke. And I was able to get it to work a little bit longer by duct taping it together, but that obviously is not a very good repair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this all off and replace it with an entirely new cable. This is the new cable. I bought it off of Amazon, and it is for a easy-go 83 to 87. The cable we need to disconnect starts down there. It's connected to the linkage that goes to the pedal. It runs up here through this little pedestal and then comes all the way through here, and here's the duct tape I mentioned, and then connects to the carburetor. And you can see how my cable was fraying right there. So we're going to take that cable off entirely and replace it with a new one. With the bed and the seat up, that gives me enough room to get in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with paying attention to where stuff is at. So this likes to be all the way closed. And you can see that there's two ferrules, one there, either side of this. So in theory, the new one we're going to put on in just about the same fashion to try and see if we can't get the cable to be adjusted where we want it to. We'll see how close we can get. The ferrules are off, so the cable is out. Now there's a nut on this side and a nut on the back side. We'll take both of those off, and then where the cable goes in here, you just need a pair of pliers, and you pinch that fitting together. It'll come up and out as long as you've disconnected this from the bottom. With the nut and washer off, the cable came out right here, and you're going to want to take this nut off as well, because the new cable did not come with nuts, so you're going to want to reuse those. I'm also noticing that the old cable has got a pretty hefty bend in it, and the new one does not. So that'll be interesting. I'm not sure why it's bent like that, and if it needs to be. You can see on the new cable that the end that goes on to the throttle linkage, it's just like a ball and socket. So that means that the original one that's on there, we just need to pry it backwards so that it pops off, and then we'll just snap the new one on, and then you snap this into that bracket that holds the cable in place. So we should just be able to pry this apart. But now that it's apart, I can see that it shouldn't have been pried apart. It should have been lifted up and off. That would have made more sense. I could have just lifted it off of the ball rather than prying it off. So I may have broken this one, which is okay because it's being thrown away anyway. But if you are not planning on replacing your cable, don't pry it off. Lift it up and off. That way you won't break it like I might have done. And then for this, we're going to pinch the bottom together and then just pry it up and out. So you have the bottom part pinched. You can just pull it straight up and out, and then the whole thing, should come out of there. And there we have the old cable and the new cable. So we're going to run the new cable in the same way the old cable came out. I wiped that little ball off a little bit, cleaned some of the gunk off, and I'm just going to put a smidge of grease on it, kind of lubed up. Can't hurt. And while I'm at it, and the cable is standing straight up and down like this, before I get it bent down into position, I'm going to take some silicone spray and I'm going to spray it right into the end up here so that there's a nice coating of silicone inside the plastic sheathing protecting the cable. So I managed to get some silicone in there. The rest was on me. And then when I bend this down like this to go through here, hopefully I'll have a low spot in that cable that will keep the silicone sitting in there and not just run out, because that'd be kind of nice to have some silicone in there protecting that cable as the cable moves back and forth in there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put that nut back on that went on this side of the bracket, and then we'll put it through, and then we'll put the other nut on, and we're getting close. I have the nut on and the washer. I don't recall exactly where it was sitting, how far back. I know that when it went through the bracket, there was only a little bit sticking out, so we'll run it through and we'll try to adjust it. I have the two nuts and washers on, but before I get too far ahead of myself here, I need to go back to the other end, and I need to connect that ball and socket together. Cable through this little plastic housing a little bit to get this end to pop out. And this end is what needs to go over the ball. We'll slide it over the ball, and then we'll put the plastic sleeve over it. That's how it goes. Just pinches it in there. The ferrules are back on. The nuts are on and tight. Cable is all run down through the bracket. It's connected down to the ball joint at the bottom. It all seems to be working correctly. Step on the accelerator. And it moves up and down, even though that went on snug. It's moving. This is all moving. So we're going to put some gas in it and give it a try. Now it's got fresh gas. Let's see if it'll start. That'll do it for the throttle cable replacement on the E-Z-Go golf cart. With the Robin 2-stroke 1-cylinder engine.